How's it going, everybody? We now have confirmation about the Cosmic Crucible Season 15 rooms, as well as new changes coming to War. That's right, Season 9 of War is going to be started. There's some pretty big shakeups there in this video, though, because we've already kind of gone over the Crucible rooms. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be putting on defense for the opening week of Season 15, as well as what I would suggest people use or start building towards for your War roster, because I've been able to guide a fairly new group of players all the way to like the pinnacle where we're just about to get diamond, probably in about a month or two, by kind of taking this ideology of keep your best weapons, but do this to trip people up. Anyway, I'm going to share that with you guys in this video. Let's start this off though. Cosmic Crucible Season 15 and War Season 9. The Ultimate 16 Cosmic Crucible tournament kicks off soon, along with Season 15 of Crucible and a new Alliance War season. Today we're covering these details so you can begin strategizing. So yeah, guys, there is going to be an Ultimate 16 Cosmic Crucible that starts, I believe, this week. So I'll have another video out on that, I guess, tomorrow. I think it starts. So then I'll have that video. You can do what you want to do there, but it's only 3 rooms, so it's not going to be too complicated as to what we're going to put on defense. We're going to do super big teams on defense and have way more than we need on offense, because that's the way it goes. If you don't press X, you're not going to win, so don't worry about it. All right, Cosmic Crucible Season 15. Matchmaking for Season 15 of Cosmic Crucible begins on May 21st, and the first day of the trials begins on May 23rd. Important note, the start time of Cosmic Crucible is changing to 1 p.m. Wow, okay, it started with Season 15. So for me, that's going to be starting at 4 p.m. Eastern now. Huh. This is important, because Crucible is going to be ending 1 hour earlier now, too. So don't miss out. I know a lot of people do their last minute attacks. I wonder why they're changing it. It's kind of weird. All right, global rules, Omens of Danger, on defense and offense. Harbinger characters on successful hit, if the primary target has trauma, perform an ISO attack against that character. So that's going to be your Thunderbolts, and that's going to be your Vigilante. Now, who gives trauma? I guess Hit Monkey gives trauma. There's no raid room, as we're going to see, which is great. Thunderbolts, I think, yeah, Songbird gives trauma outside of her mode to everybody, if it's the full team, and they do have a room designated for them, but it's not crazy. So I don't think that's going to play too big a factor. I don't think if you're playing well and you have an offensive based roster setup, like, I don't think Songbird's ever going to get the opportunity to put this trauma on you, even with the full Thunderbolts team. And then we have the regular, defending characters get max health, they get damage. If you attack but you lose, they'll gain exhausted. We're going to lean to exhausted for characters like Professor X and characters like Mephisto, if we don't have the right tools to get through them in a timely fashion. Okay, let's head on over to stage 1. On defense and offense. Fortifier and healer characters on hit apply +1 vulnerable up to maximum of 20. Striker characters on hit apply +3 vulnerable up to maximum of 20. And all other characters, which is, I guess, raiders and skirmishers, will apply 2 vulnerables up to 20, which is like, oh hey, we're getting lots of vulnerables out, that's great, but you'll get retaliated really big, and not in the colloquial sense. Okay, so all characters when attacking gain 100% damage per vulnerable on the attacking character. What does this mean? This means if I have my superior 6 members and they're so fast, because Goblin goes really fast at the speed bar and it turn meter runs people, and I'm doing a bunch of hits into a character like Shadow King, but he's so tanky because he got those new stats and he survives. But now I built him up to 20 stacks of vulnerable, and then he ults me. He's gonna be ulting me for 2,000% damage on top of that, which you're dead, right? So the whole idea here is that, like, it kind of flips, sort of, but not really. It tries to flip the speed meta on its head. It's like, okay, you get to go first, but hey, like, if I don't die, I'm gonna counterpunch you like you won't believe, which is kind of a cool concept. We've had this room before. It didn't really work out. Like, it wasn't really clever at the end of the day. And we don't know if passives are affected by this. Like, is Omega Sentinel's passive every time there's a turn where she does a shot? If she has vulnerables, does this increase the damage? When Endgame Thanos gets pushed to 50%, does this do damage? I don't remember. If you guys remember from back in the day when we had that room rule, let me know. Personally, I'm leaning towards a Thanos-based team right now, but if it doesn't work on like the passes like that, then I'm going to have to change that. But you'll see when I show you my teams. Stage 2, Aggroed. On defense and offense, all characters on turn, if character has taunt, gain offense up, and on turn applies this now to all allies with offense up. You're not like hoping your pre-taunts are going to start one-shotting guys. You just want to have teams that will either get offense up early or throw in a character like Guardian, Slayer, or even Sunspot to give a team offense up on spawn to try and get some use out of that. Nothing crazy there. Negative energy, special abilities cost 4 less energy on successful hit, reduce target ultimate energy by 1. We've had kind of a variation on this room, where it's like ultimates cost more, specials cost less, and whenever somebody died, they got energy. It's kind of like a little twist on that, I guess. The only characters I know that would really excel with having their special available right away is a character like Kohori, or a character, I guess, like Morgan Le Fay, but she's too old to really matter here. The unsuccessful critical hit reduced target's ultimate ability energy is a little bit more interesting. Once again, I do not know if this will apply to characters like Kestrel or Mega Sentinel, where they do their out-of-turn ping damage. If that crits, am I sapping some of your ability energy on your ultimate? That'd be pretty cool to know, right? So we'll have to see how that plays out. Stage 4, Spore attacks on defense and offense. All characters do damage that reduces max health on the target by the same amount. Have 50% max health and damage on ally death. Bear yourself for 100% of that character's max health. So pretty tame here. Like, we're getting the extra health, we're getting the damage, we get bear if somebody dies, and there's going to be a Mephisto-like permanent damage in place for all attacks that happen in this room. So I think that's pretty kind of normal. I don't think that's too tricky. I don't think we're going to have any like Super Saiyan teams that go in there that kind of mess things up. So I'm taking that one. I'm taking that one pretty easy too when I show you my teams. Stage 5, Before the Thunder on defense and offense. Thunderbolt characters, when this character is attacked, generate 1 ability energy. So whenever they get hit, they get ability energy. This is great. A character like Ghost wants to ult turn 1. A character like Hyperion would love to ult turn 1. The other people can already ult turn 1, or they can also do their specials. So it doesn't really affect them, but Hyperion and Ghost will be heavily affected. Gaining 100% crit chance and 300% focus is kind of amazing for them. Taskmaster, I believe he's unavoidable, but I know Ghost ult is unavoidable. So if Ghost gets hit, generates the 1 ability energy, and then she ults with a 100% crit chance, that's going to smash. So we're going to be leaning into that, and once we get the full Thunderbolts team, we will just throw the full Thunderbolts team in there, because we don't really want to overthink this. Stage 6, Dorky's Broken Headset. Yeah, that's right, we're going for it. On defense and offense, all characters on turn end remove safeguard and trauma from all characters on successful attack, copy and clear all positive effects. So again, nothing too crazy here. None of these rooms are similar to like what we have in Stage 4 right now, or Stage 6, which was heavily bugged. So this should be really easy to sort of map out your attacks. I don't think there's going to be some sort of Mega Turtle defense meta this season, just because none of the rooms are that kind of complex, and they don't sort of hard counter our best Crucible teams. They don't really hard counter Immortal X-Men, right? It doesn't hard counter Starjammers because we get speed bars still. There's no anti-speed bar room. It doesn't boost up a Mephisto, so he's ulting turn 1. So there's not that many crazy Crucible rooms. So we're going to be taking it pretty laid back this season. Make sure I'm on Crucible. Sure am. So I've noticed a couple of these teams trick people, and they don't really rely on the rooms. We kind of put them in dead rooms, and they still got a couple wins. So I'm going to be taking it very easy the first week. I do have my Endgame Thanos with Liberty. This is a very, very beefy team. All new stats. These guys are going to be farmable soon, so maybe you have them a little bit higher than I do. They're great for Professor Xavier Saga Unlock. And my plan is, hey, they're going to want to bring in a team that goes super fast and hits a lot, because otherwise Liberty members will get ahead of them. I guess this could also be Vigilantes, so keep your eye out for that. Like, Sable can come in and take all their buffs away, but she's still going to hit Endgame Thanos a lot, right? Endgame Thanos gets pushed if he has other vulnerables, and if the room does scale the damage off that, Endgame Thanos will lay waste to people, especially if you have him at gear tier 20, because he's like a sure thing for the cosmic villain section. So that's a cool idea, I think. Vigilante, I'm going to be throwing into Stage 2, just to reiterate, Stage 2, nothing super special about Stage 2. It's just that if we gain offense up, we're going to do assists now. Daredevil is going to start with it. Daredevil does have an interesting basic attack, where I believe it does a heal and it flips debuffs. So I figure like this could be pretty annoying. And also Hitmonkey gives us offense up on the second turn of the Vigilante team. So then we all have offense up, but we'll see what happens there. The reason I put them in Stage 2 is because there is no Stage 6 like we currently have, which is an absolute nightmare, because all the coding issues where Vigilante they held their own. They're pretty interesting. Not so much anymore. And the reason I'm not going to keep Vigilante on offense, which I think a lot of you probably will, and I think that's fine, I'm going to keep all my best Crucible offense tools, at least for the first 2 weeks, to feel things out, because I'd rather have Phoenix Force on offense than Vigilante. because Phoenix Force doesn't have the same counters that it had in our current season. Right? There's no Mephisto ulting turn 1 anywhere. There's no anti-speed bar, unless they have the characters there. So I'm not super interested in relying on them in the opening season. That might change as things go on, but we'll see. Stage 3, where we're going to be getting our specials costing less and unsuccessful crit, we're going to be sapping ability energy. So I do have Kahori, because she'll use her special turn 1, which flips all buffs, puts offense down, bleeds, heal block, and trauma if they have no buffs. I have Guardian to give offense up for her. I have the Emma Frost to kind of dissuade the use of Immortal X-Men here, because then you will have the Omega Sentinel going. Omega Sentinel does those pings. I mean, does her crits reduce the ultimate energy from people? I don't know. This is all things that I'm going to be testing out. This is a team I feel like I could live without, and also a team I feel like I could come in here and still beat it. With like Illuminati, if I had to. I'd come in here with Illuminati, and I believe that I could beat it, and that's why I'm not putting Illuminati on defense. We'll see if this catches anybody up. We have sort of the Ghetto Annihilator Skrull team. So we got the 3-piece Annihilators to stop Cabal. I have Pav as a skirmisher, because that, again, could mess up the Immortal X-Men, because Pav could hit and give Skrull speed up, and then Skrull could do his stuff, and it could get pretty dicey and pretty annoying. This is stage 4. Do damage to reduce the max health of the targets, and we get extra damage, we get extra barrier. I still think Immortal would come in here and beat this, because it's not like Skrull's ulting turn 1, but it could get ugly. So, I mean, like, and there's also a lot of things that could beat this, right? Starjammers could come in and beat this. Phoenix Force could come in and beat this. Like, it wouldn't be too complicated for them to get it done. So I wouldn't rely on this to get wins. It's tricky enough that people can sometimes do stupid things. This will eventually be the Thunderbolt room. I just don't have use for these guys at all. At all. I got no use for them, so I just don't care. We throw the Extreme members in there. I throw Taskmaster. I throw Ghost. Again, I have no use for Taskmaster or Ghost. We'll put them in there. Maybe they'll hit Ghost, give her energy. They'll try and ignore her, or they get stuck on the Rogue for whatever reason. All of a sudden, Ghost is going to be ulting with the 100% crit chance and her new stats, and maybe she stops some efficiency. I'm not overthinking this room. I'm not overthinking anything on defense this season. I just don't think it's worth it. All right, and then stage 6, the Dorky's Broken Headset on turn and remove Safeguard and Trauma from all characters on successful attack. Copy and clear all positive effects. So Null and Odin can't gain trauma anyway, so they're not really benefiting from that part of the room. But my other characters, with the exception of Captain Britain here, can't even gain Safeguard. So I'm not hurt by this room as much as other teams. Like a Mephisto coming in here will get hurt by this room. This is so easily beaten by like a big Starjammers. It just is, right? Like Starjammers kind of get countered by Captain Britain, kind of get countered by Emma Frost, but also Odin is going to be going first against the full Starjammer team. He will do his special unless he gets ability blocked by Howard, which would be really awkward for them to do. It's not going to beat Starjammers, and Starjammers are just getting bigger because they're getting older, right? People are starting to get them more, whether it be in passes, events, whatever the heck you want to, wherever the heck you're gaining your stuff, I should say. So I don't think this is going to be a stopgap room by any stretch of the imagination. I just need something to pull them so that it kind of gives extra life to like these other guys, and we'll see what happens there. I do not think this is a good defense, to be honest with you, like this whole defensive lineup. But I don't think anything is unless you fully commit to defense. I think this is another Professor X celebration season where if you have Professor X and you're facing somebody who doesn't, like, hey, they're going to take an L on you. They're just gonna. I'm not sure, because if you put Professor X with like an Emma Frost, then Starjammers kind of get neutered a little bit, right? And Professor X is insane damage. You put the right characters with him, it just gets more and more rough. So I think Professor X is always going to pull at least one win, and then nothing else this season will really hold unless you go crazy. Mephisto on defense, Null Odin on defense, Illuminati on defense. Hey, maybe your own Starjammers on defense. And maybe we'll explore that later this season. But in the opening weeks, I always kind of like to get a feel for things before I go whole hog. All right. Next, we got to talk about War. I know not too many people are interested in War the same way I am. However, we're going to be getting intel from War from now on, so I do think it's somewhere that people will start getting interested. So again, we'll go over these rules. There's nothing really crazy about it, and I'll show you what I would suggest people have for their offense and for their defense to try and maximize wins and minimize frustration. Because at the end of the day, I think that is the real war within War, is making sure that you have the right tools, and your alliance captains realizing, like, hey, if you don't have the right tools and you're making somebody, you guys know what a mallet is? Think a mallet, like the rubber mallet? Okay. It's like giving somebody a rubber mallet and telling them, I need you to go nail in 400 of these nails and be like, why can't I get a steel hammer? Okay. I think you need the right tools for war to have fun with it and to be successful with it. And a lot of people try and overthink things when at the end of the day, war is about participation. It's about giving the smallest of fucks, sorry for swearing, and just, that's it. That's it. And having the right tools. Okay. Global rule is galactic confrontation. Okay, well, first let's do this. Quasar is here with the galactic confrontation with Annihilus. Has just begun. Here are the rules for the galactic confrontation. Galactic confrontation, 20% primary stats to attacking Quasar ally. We'll definitely need that because we're going to have him at like yellow stars right away, right? On basic attacking Quasar, ally applies expose to target, which is kind of crazy. It's nice that it's attacking Quasar ally does not mean the same as attacking allies. I think this just means like when Quasar is doing an attack, not when he's doing some sort of assist, if that would happen, or not doing some sort of counterattack. Otherwise, they would capitalize it, I believe. But him doing exposes on every single one of his hits, he's got that crazy expose feature. We'll go over that in another video once we get him unlocked. We'll re-go over it. He's going to be a really fun character. And again, he's going to be one of those tools on offense where it's going to be really fun to have access to him. 20% primary stats to defending Starjammer allies. Yeah, I don't know why they're trying to smash this square peg into that round hole. Starjammers are trash on defense, but at least it does not have needs to be a full defending team. So having a partial Starjammer team is still going to give them a small boost. And there's definitely hybrid Starjammer teams that are better than the full Starjammer team. And Havoc is better elsewhere, as we're going to talk about. 20% primary stats to attacking allies, which we always have. Using one of the following full defending teams will provide a 30% stat bonus. That is the same as our current season. Annihilators, Astral, which we already have. Starjammers, which is new, and that's replacing... I don't know who that's replacing, actually. X-Men and Infestation. Maybe... it replaced Illuminati. Illuminati no longer getting benefits on the defensive side, which is great, because I kind of prefer them on offense anyway, as do everyone in my alliance. So, Starjammers, if they're a full team on defense, will give you an extra bump that you're not going to play into that. All right, 30% primary stats to attacking Avengers. So, Mighty Avengers are still good to go. Liberty, Absolute A-Force, Vigilante. Hallelujah, that team is so good. I'm going to have so much fun using them on offense. And the Thunderbolts. I love that they put Vigilante and Thunderbolts here. First of all, they're like two newer teams. They have both been kind of built out to be helpful on the war offensive side. We're going to have them at free play levels for the majority of the community, so giving them that extra bump is actually really, really nice and really, really helpful to a lot of players, and I think that's great. Now, the room rules, I don't think anything has changed. Medbay is still doing regeneration. Skill allies receive an additional regeneration, which they are this season as well, I believe. Armory is 20% primary stats to defending allies. On the adjacent side, security is still just defense down. 10 positive effects. Barrier, skill allies still getting barrier. Disrupt, yeah. Offense up, yeah. Cargo big 10%, yes. Successful hit defending skill allies apply regeneration. I think that's also... I don't think any of the rooms have changed whatsoever. I think they will change. This is not the big war changes that everyone is sort of like waiting to drop. This is kind of like probably the last season before the new war, the big war changes coming. I think those war changes are going to be well received, in my opinion. Yeah, from what I've seen, I think they're going to be pretty well received. It's gonna make war more manageable for captains and thus less stressful for their players, which I think is great. At least what we've seen so far. All right, let me show you my roster now. All right, so what I'm going to be doing for war, and this is my philosophy with war. I want my guys to have like 12 killer teams on the offensive side. Also, a lot of my guys are new, so they do not have New Avengers or A-Force or Nowhere built up, right? And those are teams that I actually think are kind of getting knocked off the top 12 list anyway. So I go very much like, hey, offensive heavy, but, and we'll get to the but when I get to the roster. So Full Liberty is just the best team right now. You can sometimes make substitutions for War Machine if you say you're tackling a Mephisto and you don't want him to do his empowered state, or maybe a Null if you're facing Mephisto, you don't want to do his power state, or a Mephisto if you're facing up against a big Odin and you need to just nuke him right away. Mercs, if you don't have Deathpool built up, that's perfectly fine. I love substituting in a character like Ares here if I'm going up against Astral to make that a sure one. You don't need to, but it really helps. Or even Apocalypse or Robbie Reyes, whatever you want to put in there, it will work. They're a very, very strong team, and I kind of reserve them for Astral at this point because Astral is still really good, and we're finding more and more ways to sort of counter the hybridized teams that Astral struggles against. Okay, Undying 3-piece, so no Zombie Scarlet Witch, with Storm and Jean Grey. This is one of my favorite sort of like B+ and lower team killers. They used to be great for... They still are really good for Astral if there's no Black Cat, if there's no Ares, if there's no Cosmic Ghost Rider. Like, they're still really good, and they can actually beat some of those variations still. But I think you just kind of lean away from that. You take the safer Mercs match, and this is just like your straight kill. And the beauty of this team, I know a lot of people don't really like building for war, and this is pretty much a strictly war team, right? Where these guys, they're good everywhere. Good for Professor X, good for Crucible, as well as war. And you need them for Shadow King unlock event anyway. This is like a straight war team. If you just like hyper build your zombie juggernaut and you get the correct T4s on these two, that's enough. And then you just have a really, really valuable 4th and 5th member that could be Zombie Scarlet Witch because she's really good. She's going to be good forever and worse, stopping the speed bar even on her own. So that's not a bad investment whatsoever. We know there's going to be a 5th Undying member eventually. So I kind of like this team. I really do, and I do suggest people build into it because it's super fun. And if you do just want to make it super budgetary and just take out B tier teams like freaking X-Men teams or whatever you want, just build a Juggernaut. He'll smash everything for you. All right, Night Stalkers are great. Sometimes you want to take out the Moon Knight if you're getting like slow on your guys early. Taking out the Moon Knight is actually really helpful because then he's not a candidate for Blade to flip that slow into speed up, and then it's more likely to be himself and Oath, which is what you want. So that's really good there. Some of my favorite plugs that I put in here, it could be Kestrel to stop his summon. It could be Big Time Spider-Man, because Big Time Spider-Man goes so fast with his on-spawn speed up as well as his high innate speed stat, it gets that flip really early. There's also, you can also do Falcon here. Falcon Joaquin, this guy right here. And the reason you would do that is if there is a Professor X and you need that on-spawn taunt and you need your Blade to go in there and murder that Professor X before he gets a turn, in which case you probably want to be subbing out the Agatha as well for Guardian, and then you don't have Alpha Flight on defense, or at least you don't have a full Alpha Flight on defense, which I think is fine. If you find yourself facing a lot of Professor X's and you don't have the right answer for that, I do think the 3-piece Night Stalkers subbing out Moon Knight and Agatha for Falcon Joaquin and for Guardian is a great way to get rid of that Professor X, so you can 2-tap the node. You're not going to beat whatever else is with the Professor X, but you can safely 2-tap the node. Mighty Avengers. I love the Mighty Avengers team. Not a lot of other people do. I get it. It's a very much a war team, but you have to build up Falcon and Hercules for raids. Wanda and Vision are actually a really good 2-piece for Crucible. I'm not using them this season, but you could on a budget for a retaliation team. And actually, Invisible Woman can make it in there too. But if you just want to build Falcon and Hercules, that's enough. You build up these three to the proper place where they have the right T4s, and just like the Undying team, you take out kind of the worst of the worst teams with them, and Hercules and Falcon will get it done. You just want to build up your Hercules or Falcon as big as possible. Vigilante, well, you already saw the buffs they're getting. Like, there's no excuse not to build this team. Ray team, awesome, powerful, just great. Great. Can't say enough about them. Superior 6. Yeah, Superior 6 with Mysterio and Vulture is just getting more and more valuable. We're not really using Spider Slayer or Lizard anymore, primarily because we need that control from the Mysterio, and we kind of need that anti-speed up. And this team sort of just chases teams that have speed up on spawn, and you sort of slowly whittle these teams down. They are great in Crucible as well, so there's no reason not to build this team, but they're going to be falling off sooner rather than later. Full Illuminati, this is, again, another good team that if your enemies are not super creative with their hybridized teams, Illuminati can come in here and get a lot of work done against a lot of teams. And worst comes to worst, they're going to be a good B-tier killing team. Cabal Kang, this plugin is super important. This plugin could be Ultimus. You're facing off against enemy vigilantes where the Daredevil is not super, super big. Or it could be Apocalypse if someone has just a straight Astral on defense. Or it could be Ares if your opponent has, say, Out of Time on defense. So I think this is a good budgetary team that also flexes well into Crucible, which I know a lot of people want. They want their war teams to flex into Crucible really well. Full Orcas, you need to build them up for raids. This is a terrible offensive team, but it'll take out the C tier teams that people put on defense, and there's always C, B, A, and S tier teams on every defense. So as long as people in your alliance aren't gobbling up all those garbage teams, you should be able to find a pretty decent use for your Orcas. Thunderbolts will eventually make their way in, and that would be the 11th team. If you really want a 12th team, I would suggest the A-Force with the new Wasp and Ironheart is probably the best C tier team. Probably. New Avengers could give them a run for their money. Out of Time could give them a run for their money for sure. Underworld would undeniably be better than them, but Taskmasters, you got to start kind of budgeting him into the Thunderbolts team because they need to be that full team. Anyway, so there you go. All right. These guys, okay, funny story. This team right here with no Null and Ultimates is actually a really good counter to... is it this one? Or is it maybe it's not with Super Skrull? No, it is with Super Skrull. It's a really good counter to some of the S tier defense teams. So you could consider this a team. I personally consider this, unless I have to pull the trigger and use it as a team, I consider these my plug and play characters. Like I was saying in the opening, I could throw in Mephisto or Null up in here. I could throw Ares here, or maybe Apocalypse. Maybe I'll end up throwing Ares with my Kang, Cabal, or Apocalypse if I'm trying to face off against a regular Astral. Scarlet Witch, she doesn't need to be super built up to stop Speedbar, so even if you're not trying to build her super high, you can just get her to that point where I think it's her level 6 passive. I think she only needs to be like level 64 or something like that for it. Very, very, very useful. These are my plug-and-play characters that I will use on the teams that I showed above as needed, or if I need to do something super, I'll throw Ultimates over Null, and this can get some miraculous things done, though it's not my favorite use of all those characters. That's my offensive roster. Let's go to the defensive roster, because this is way more important. It's more important that you, as a fighter in your alliance, has these sort of really powerful weapons to fall back on, so you're never scratching your head like, is this going to work? No. You have the best of the best weapons to take things out. But if you want to actually win wars, you need to sacrifice one or two really good teams to the defense. Absolute A-Force, even though they get an offensive buff this season, they are the most annoying base team that you can make these powerful hybrid defense teams off of, primarily because of the speed bar from Gohori, the speed stat from Medusa, and just the annoying bullshit from Miss Marvel Classic. And I mean, you could throw Endgame Thanos in over Odin if you want to keep Odin for offense. It's much easier to handle at that point, but it saves you like a super powerful weapon. Skrull is just very well used here because he's so easily countered elsewhere on the offensive side. When you throw in Skrull into like I don't know, into like a Night Stalker team, it seems normally that becomes a waste. So I do think that you want to have like one sort of superpower team on defense. We get a lot of wins with this guy in our alliance, followed by Astral with Black Cat. Astral is an amazing offensive unit. Don't get me wrong. But Astral will hit the same sort of benchmark as your Undying. The same sort of benchmark as like your Vigilante will hit now. So they don't have as much value on the offensive side, but on the defensive side, you throw something like a Black Cat in there, all of a sudden somebody goes in there with their Kang, Cabal, Apocalypse, and Black Cat goes before Iron Patriot, stuns him, no flips happen, it's like, shit, you lose. Or they go in there with Undying, and Black Cat's like, hey, slow down, bio characters, no speed up for you, shit, and they lose, right? So it's kind of just like this interesting Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap card that I think is, these two teams on defense, I think is a good idea. All right. Black Knight with these 4 Star Gemmers, so subbing out Havoc, I think is somewhat interesting. I know a lot of people use Gladiator here instead of Black Knight. I think that's perfectly acceptable, especially if you want to keep your out of time for offense. They would be probably the 13th best team, in my opinion. And then with the Star Gems getting that 20% increased stats on defense, maybe you'll catch a win here. I doubt it. It's pretty easily countered. If someone comes here with an Ares, Cabal, Kang, like that'll also wipe this, even with those extra stats. This X-Men team has caught a lot of people off guard, especially if you could slap this next to Security, especially if you're bringing Havoc to Professor X. He's really good in there, right? At least I hear. I'm nowhere near that section yet. I just jumped the gun because what other mutants are you going to bring? Havoc's new stat damage with the extra life that he gets here, with the kind of the problematic Nightcrawler given speed bar, the reflexive taunt, and possibly defense down from Phoenix, like this can get really rough for the enemies. I've seen a lot of people lose against this doing something like New Avengers. I thought New Avengers were a sure-in, but his attacks are unavoidable, and it's all of a sudden like, oh, Tigra instantly died, right? So I do think this is interesting, and it's much more interesting to put Havoc with X-Men than to keep him with Starjammers, because with the Starjammers, there's no interest there. There's no real puzzle to solve aside from just bringing the right tunes that are going to die to Havoc pings, and that's it. Annihilators, you see I break up the Annihilators. I have, who am I missing here? I'm missing Ultimates. I came for the offense. It's just not an interesting team. And honestly, I wouldn't even use Server here. If you have like Doom Dorm built here, I like that better. And basically what I'm trying to say is, with the exception of the X-Men team, it's not worth it, in my opinion, to lean into this line right here. This using one of the following full defending teams. This just isn't worth it. That 30% stats does not make Annihilators, Astral, Starjammers, and Infestation is just not on this list. It doesn't make them interesting at all. They still get just wrecked by their hard counters, so the hard counters are such hard counters. The enemies normally don't get a turn. The rare exception to that would probably be like Endgame Thanos being overpowered. Some Annihilator counters will lose to that just from foolish matchmaking, right? So I wouldn't lean too heavy. And then for Alpha Flight, I think they're still worth a mention, because if you put Chavez in between North Star and Guardian, and you put Cable on the team, Illuminati can lose to this if they don't know how to take the proper speed bar countermeasures in. I think I've seen Annihilators. Annihilators will lose to this too. People have Annihilators on the offensive side, so there's a little bit of intrigue there. And to me, like, this is a very, very low kind of leaning towards defense and high leaning towards offense. Yes, you're losing Astral. Yes, you're losing Absolute A-Force, Odin, and Skrull, but you have so much more other things. Yeah. Now, if you ever want me to do a video on like kind of the old offensive best war teams and how I'd rank them now, we could do that. I just feel like that is so out of touch with the rest of the community. Like, nobody should be trying to build up new Avengers now. Nobody should be trying to build up A-Force if they don't have them already. Nobody should be building up Weapon X at this point. No, you know what I mean? So if you want me to do that kind of video, we can. But for now, I think that kind of sticks to landing on how I would approach war. And guys, don't start by building your defensive teams. Start by building your offensive teams. And don't start by building Cabal before you build up Absolute A-Force if you care about war. Build Absolute A-Force first, but keep them on offense until you're ready to pivot them to defense. Anyway, just a little bit of words from me and my guys who were able to start a new alliance in the end of 2023. Or 2025 now, so it's actually been a while. But we are at like 2,100 trophies. Like, we are killing it for a bunch of guys that have some 2 million teams on defense. We've been up to like 3 million power teams on defense now. Anyways, this video went way longer than I thought, just trying to go over the roster stuff. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helps you in your adventures in Crucible and in War in the coming seasons. For now, though, have yourselves a wonderful day. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, like, share, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. All right, bye, guys.